Welcome to Silica. When I saw the video published on the Steam, I'm so interested in this FPS plus RTS mode game. However, the most unbelievable thing is such a polished and well-conceptual game is created by one developer, Martin Dram Melichárek. Today, I have the greatest honor to have this chat with him to talk about himself, his game career, and the game.
Or you can hunt them down as the insect-like aliens native to Baltarus.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. It's very honor to have a chat with you. How are you doing recently? You are quite busy.
Good. What about yourself? How are you doing?
I think very busy. Talk about yourself. Actually, I noticed that you were creating the games since you were 12 years old. Wow, I mean 12. Probably most of us still don't know what to do. How would you feel that is your interest?
Well, so it goes back to like the release of Unreal 1 in 1999 or 8, I believe, one of those two. And it came with an editor, Unreal editor, like the original Unreal editor. And I started messing around with that. Started like playing around with making levels and also playing around with like changing weapons and all this kind of stuff. And that's kind of where like my kind of journey into game development started, because I really enjoyed playing games, and I kind of just I was always very creative. I used to make things out of like out of wood, out of metal, and all this kind of stuff, out of plastic. So it was kind of an automatic thing which led me down this road, to kind of like how would I say? I've always been creative, and I wanted to kind of like realize these kind of big ideas, which just you can't do with just like small materials, but you can do it in a game. I've always wanted to kind of like give the have this experience, and enable other people to have that same experience. So that's kind of like where game development really attracted me.
Oh, I see. So actually you grow up in the Australia. So
Yes.
after actually you study in the Sydney, you join the Bohemia directly. What makes you have this big decision to join game industry? What was your initial job there?
Okay, so very good question. So like it's a bit of a continuation on the previous question. When I was modding, then of course, Morrowind came out, for example. I love doing some mods for that. Doom 3, I worked on the dark mod, for example, which is I don't know if you've played the original Thief 1 and Thief 2 from like 1998 and then 2000 or whatever, but I really liked that sneaking game. And there was a mod being made on Doom 3, so I joined that. And that kind of was a big part of my pre-professional career, so to speak, because I was doing a lot of level design there, a lot of scripting, a lot of modeling, texturing, sound, and all this kind of stuff there. So that was one thing which kind of like really allowed me to create a portfolio. And I was in the University of Western Sydney, like studying a bachelor, like doing a bachelor of electronic arts. There's no point doing anything higher than that. So I did a bachelor of electronic arts there, and during that whole time, I was working on the dark mod and other stuff. And so when I when I finished studying, I wanted to like return here to the Czech Republic, because I was born here, but I grew up in Australia. But I always wanted to kind of go back because I love winter.
Okay.
And of course, with climate change, there is no winter, but it doesn't matter. But so I did want to like return here, and so I applied to Bohemia Interactive, and they told me to make like an example mission in Arma, right, or in like Arma 1. So I did do like this example mission. I did like dubbing and stuff, and I remember recording the dubbing for the mission I made, because I made the mission, the scripts, and everything. And the dubbing, I needed a place to do the dubbing, and like at my computer, it sounded terrible. And no other place, I had nowhere. So I actually went into the bush, into the forest, and started recording the dubbing there. And I sent that, and they really loved it, and they hired me, and that was in 2009. That's when I moved to. I basically literally finished university, and I graduated, and like 2 months later, I moved straight into Bohemia Interactive, and started on Armor 2 Operation Arrowhead. That was the first project I worked on.
Wow, that's the probably lots of young men can learn from this. Incredible experience from you. Let's talk about the game. Silica, you are the solo creator of the game. Actually, in this industry, I think that's an unbelievable achievement. What was the original motivation from creating the Silica?
So, thank you very much, first of all. But one thing I would say is today, everyone looks at like the kind of like solo creation as a kind of it's like holy crap, how good do you have to be able to make something solo? But the reality is today it's a very different thing to making something solo in, for example, 2009 or even earlier, right? The reason is that today the tools allow you to make a game quite easily, right? The engine has like the tools I worked with when I was working on the dark mod were very, very basic, so there was a person had to be very technically strong. So today when someone says they're solo, it's much less of a meaning than someone being solo in the past. Now, why I'm saying it is it kind of like leads into this other thing, which is, sure, I'm solo, but I did most of the project solo, but I did actually get people along the way to help me for a time. The locations, for example, a lot of them, like most of them are not done by me, right? It started off as a solo creation. Then I had some people join for like about a year or two, and then they moved on to other projects. And then it became me solo again, and now I've finally got people again. But it was never the intention. I just want to make that clear. I never just wanted to like do it solo, but it was just like when I started working on it full time, COVID happened, so and it was very difficult to find anyone. But the concept of Silica itself goes back to 2008. That's when I actually started like the concept in the Doom 3 engine as a mod. I wanted to do it like in there because I loved Dune 2, the original Dune 2, which is the first RTS ever. I really loved it, and I loved the design of the units and all this kind of stuff, and I wanted to play it first person, but of course, technology back then was just no. So I started doing it in the Doom 3 engine. But very quickly, I didn't have the technical skills for it. I was very young, so I was naive, and also the technology just wasn't there yet. So I abandoned the project, even though I had like achieved I made a small map, but I didn't have any like proper gameplay or anything like that. I had no idea how to write AI. So I was like, yes. So I dumped the project. But I then revisited it in 2018. That's when I kind of like restarted doing it. And when I started doing it then I already had like because I did take on Mars, and that was very I wrote about 90% of it, right? And so I had a lot of experience with making units, systems, and all this kind of stuff, all physics based, of course. And I promised myself when doing Take on Mars, I said, I will never do another project which has units and everything driven by physics. And of course, here I am again, right? But to be fair, the reason I did do everything with physics in Silica is because that's what allows the crabs to walk on walls and jump onto vehicles, and the vehicles bouncing against each other and all. Just the physics allows for really good interaction, and that's why I kind of went with that direction. But yeah, I started in 2018 working on it in my free time, because I was working on Armor Forger at the time, actually. And so I was just doing it in the evenings, and I expected to be working on about 5 years. And then in 2020, I, by chance, was talking to the CEO of Bohemian Tracker, because I've known him for quite a while. And he said, yeah, I can kind of imagine you working on smaller projects again. And I said, yeah, I actually have this one project which I'm working on. And so when he saw it, he's like, well, why don't you do this full time? I was like, because I cannot afford it. And so we kind of came to an agreement, and that's how Silica was born. like as being a full-time project released under like Bohemian Interactive and like through Bohemian Incubator. And so then I went full-time on it, and that was October 2020. That's when I started like full-time on it in the middle of COVID, or with the first wave of COVID. So yeah, that was and it was very difficult to find people, but I had intended to find 4 people. I wanted a team of about 4 or 5.
How is the size of your team now?
So right now it's me doing, well, almost everything. Then there's one person that joined just very recently. He's doing the new input system, right? Key bindings and controls, right? Then there's 2 more people which I have, which are doing like the soul structures. You know, there's the 2 human factions, the Soul and Centauri. Well, then right now the buildings that are in the game, those are for Centauri, right? But right now both factions use them because I just wanted, you know, to be able to play. That's why I just made the 2 factions. But the soul structures are still coming. That's what the guys are working on, and the rest it has to be done by me for now. But I'm still looking for people. I will be expanding the team a little bit more.
Incredible. Is there any aspect of the Silica which you are most proud of in this game?
Very good question. One particular, I'd probably say, now it's going to sound a little bit silly, but the experience, yeah, like the kind of the atmosphere that you get while playing the game, right? The explosions and all this kind of stuff, like the feeling you get in the game. That's, I'd say, what I would be that's what I kind of like enjoy the most out of it. That's what I'm most proud of, because of course, you know, I could say like the multiplayer aspect, or the units being able to walk on walls and whatever, right? Because that in itself were technical problems which were difficult to solve, but those are not what really makes me happy. Do you know what I mean? Those were just like hurdles in the way. What really makes me happy is the kind of like when you play it and there's like the bullets flying everywhere, the explosions, or, you know, even just the sun rising and you get that feeling like you're on a different planet, and the way everything appears. This is what gives me the most joy, you know, like feeling like you're there. That's the thing. That's what I've always wanted. That's why I went into game development, to kind of be able to make these experiences for people. Because I mean, this goes back to like the psychological question of why do we enjoy games, right? Or why do we play games? And I mean, there's 2 reasons, in my opinion. Of course, it's just my personal opinion. Either it's something that you cannot experience, so for example, in outer space or whatever, because it's far away or very difficult to, like, just impossible to get to, for example. Or it's something you don't want to experience. For example, wars. Yeah, no one wants to be in a war, you know. And those that do don't know what war is, you know. So this is the way I view it, you know. So of course, it's really fun to shoot at someone in a video game. In real life, that's not going to be as fun, you know. Because there's another person on the other end that you're shooting or getting shot at. It's not fun to get shot at, right? So that's the way I view games. It gives you experiences which you could not otherwise have.
That's the reason you introduced the FPS in the RTS.
Yes, exactly. Because like when you look at it from just from a gameplay perspective, I could have kept it RTS, but this goes back to another thing. One of the, like, to the multiplayer aspect. One thing which was absolutely crucial for me, with regards to multiplayer, was so I would be able to actually play with high pings, right? With high ping counts. So, for example, you can play Silica with a person on the other side of the world. He's got a ping of 300, and you'll still have a good time. And that was really important for me because my brother still lives in Australia, and I like to play with him. And it's very difficult to play anything. I like Counter-Strike, for example, but it's just unplayable at 300 ping. You know, so that was really important for me with this game. And yeah, it's really fun to have like him controlling as commander, for example, and I'm on the ground, you know, running around with a gun and whatnot. You know, and that's what I really wanted, like, to be able to. You know, you have the whole epic view from above, you know, building units and sending them in whatever, this big war. But then you jump into one of the units and you feel very small. You know, you're very small in the world. That was really important for me also, to have an authentic scale. Yeah. So, you know, you have a person, like, let's say this big, then the harvester is this big, and the structure which built the harvester makes the harvester look this small and is this tall, you know, compared to it. So the whole idea is you're absolutely tiny in this large world. And that was really important for me as well, because so you feel small, so you feel insignificant, so you kind of like realize that the world doesn't care about you. Killed, and that's just how it is. Because then it makes you kind of like think more carefully about what you do, think more tactically, you know, because you know if there's a rocket launcher coming, you are going to die if you don't hide. You know, and I wanted, because then it gives you the true experience, right? That's the important thing. It triggers the right things in your brain, where it's like, okay, I'm a person with a machine gun, and there is a large vehicle with a rocket which is taller than me coming towards me. I need to hide. Because it triggers that kind of like, oh crap, I need to hide. It triggers the various emotions which you would go through in a real situation. Obviously not to that extent, right? You don't feel fear in a video game, but you do feel the kind of exhilaration. You know, you feel that exhilaration of, oh crap, as you're getting shot at and bullets are flying everywhere, you know, and that's kind of the thing you want to kind of experience in a game. Because to experience it in real life is, you could experience it in paintball, for example. You know, paintball's a lot of fun, or airsoft. But yeah, so that's primarily why I went into or what I wanted with Silica, to be able to kind of like, and that's what I'm most proud of, the kind of the experience you get from it. You know, the particle effects, you get the siege tank, you know, when it fires, like, and it's got that kind of bass in it. And then when it explodes, you kind of get that really bassy sound, you know, so you feel it's a really powerful tank. And that's the stuff which I really kind of wanted to portray in, and that's what I'm most proud of.
Yes.